Hello, 4th and 5th graders. Welcome to Step 10, Adding Music. We're almost done. This is it, the last step. All we need to do now is add some music to our podcast, and we are done. And as you move forward in adding music, I want you to remember a few things. One, the whole point of music is that it really helps the mood of the podcast. It helps us feel the emotions, whether they're happy or sad or funny or scary. The music sets the tone for the whole podcast. Now, there are two types of music that you can use in your podcast. You can use either or both, although both doesn't quite work. The first type is where you put a musical break in the story. You put a gap in your podcast where there's an important moment, and you play a little music to kind of let people think about what was just said or the important emotion. The second kind is more like background music, where it plays underneath what is being said. And in those cases, the music needs to be much quieter and a little calmer so that we aren't distracted by the music. But those are the two kinds that we're going to add to our podcast. So how are we going to do it? Well, let's get started and see. All right, so I'm going to go into GarageBand, and I'm going to create a new song. The reason I'm going to create a new song is that I could do the music inside the actual podcast, but if I make a mistake or do something wrong and delete everything, that would be really sad because there wasn't an undo button, and we couldn't go back and redo it. So we're going to create a new song. And when we open it up, we are not actually going to use one of these. We're not going to use the tracks. We are actually going to go up here where it says Live Loops, and we're going to open up Live Loops. We'll create a new one. And up here, you're going to see all of these squares. These squares are where we're going to put our live loops, our loops that we're going to put in here. GarageBand has a bunch of sounds and small loops of music that can be put together to make very complex, very interesting songs. So that's what we're going to do right now. All right, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go up over here and go to this loop up here. Now, we did this when we put in our interview into this, but this time we're going to stay on this Apple Loops side over here, and we're going to look at all of these because these are pretty cool. What these are a bunch of small little pieces of music that we can assemble together to make something larger, and there's a whole bunch of different sounds. There's beats. I'm going to turn this down. There are drum sets, pianos, lots and lots and lots and lots of different things. And once you find something that you like, so I know, for instance, that this is where I want to kind of start. I've listened to a bunch of these and I've chosen this one. And once you find one that you like, you just grab it, and hold it, and then drag it over here. And notice that as soon as you do, you get these two things. This is the sound and the way it looks, and then it also actually opens up a whole new row for you over here. So that's nice. So now you can put other sounds, and so each time you put one in there, it's going to add a new row. But this is the sound itself, and all I need to do to play it is to just tap on it. I'm going to actually lower that so that it's not in the way of my voice, because that happened last time. And you can see it just keeps playing it over and over and over and over again. So if I want to layer sounds, that is put sounds on top of sounds and just do more than one, I can do that by just leaving it play and opening up the loops and finding something else to play over it and see if it sounds good. Yeah, see, I don't think that matches, does it? That's kind of just a cool sound. Let me think here. That's an interesting sound. All right, so I like that one, so I'm just going to drag it on to the next one. And notice that I do a new column each time as well. You want to be really careful about that. And then I kind of liked that interesting. Where'd it go? That one weird. Here it is. I like that. And then I'm going to add another one. All right, hold on a second. I'm going to pause this while I go find the rest of them. So I found all the sounds that I wanted. I've got all of these sounds here, and together they all make the piece of music that I want to do. But I don't have to play them all at the same time. I can play one and start to intro the music and then add more. I don't have to play them all at once. So I could just start with this, and then I can add in a beat, and I can add in some kind of cool vibey thing, and then I can add in that odd sound, and then I can play sort of the topping piece that I have here. And I don't want that to be too much, because if I play that the whole time, it's going to kind of grate on your ears. It's just going to hit you over and over and over again. So I want it to be kind of in and out. Not too much. All right, so I've practiced that. I've got an idea. So if you want to stop it, you just hit the stop button, and then you can restart everything by hitting that button again. And so now I'm ready to go. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to record it. I'm going to record the piece of music that I want to record, and it will just start some tracks for me. So let's do that. I'm going to hit record. All right, and then when I'm done, you just hit stop. And what you get is, you can see up here, you can see where all of it was. And if you want to look at it, you go up to the track view up here, and you'll see, there it is. There's all of the music that I just recorded. You can see I turned this on and then off for a beat, and then on and then off for a beat, and did it kind of short. And here the whole thing is. This is the whole thing right here. And I can take it, because it's all highlighted, and I can kind of slide it in like this. But this is it. This is the whole piece of music. But now what do? I can't bring all of this over to my podcast, because it would all get out of order, and it would just be clumsy. So how do I get all of these things into one track? Well, we can do that. We can do what's called a merge. So I'm going to pull over this, and then I'm going to tap, and I'm going to just double tap and bring up my menu on any one of these. It doesn't really matter which, so I'm going to do the top one. And here we go. And now I've got these. And if you remember, we did a couple of these things when we renamed stuff. So, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at merge. I'm going to merge these together. I'm going to merge, and it pops up this little grid, or these little check marks right here. And I want to just check all of these. And now that I'm going to do that, I'm just going to go up here and hit the button merge. It's going to think for a minute. And then boom, look at that. Now all of those things got squeezed into one track. So if we play it, there, it's there. You can see the whole thing. It's right there, which is awesome, because now I can tap on it, double tap, and I can copy it. And if I copy it and go back to my podcast, which is right here. Sorry, I had to change something there. All right, if I go back to my podcast, I can put it in here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a new track. I don't want to put it in either my narrator or my subject here. I want to put it into maybe a music line. So I'm going to do this. add one in, and I found out yesterday that you really need to be careful about which one you choose. You definitely want to choose the voice. Remember to turn down vocal hall. And head over here. All right, and I could rename this if I want to and call it music or not. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But what I'm going to do now, put my cursor here, and then I can tap and paste, and boom, there's my music right here. My dad always loved the idea of the Mississippi River. He had a romantic idea about what it would be like to, and that's pretty cool. So now I have music into my podcast. Now comes the decision about what to do with the music. Because you have two options. The first option is to do it as background music, like I've got it right here. Live on the river.
I just love the idea of building a raft.
And in that case, it just plays underneath what I'm saying. But you got to turn it down because you don't want it to be too much. But again, I think that runs a little bit more and that takes away from some of the things I'm doing. You can certainly do it, but I kind of like what we call interludes or breaks and things like that. So I want to do a kind of beginning introduction music, and then I'm going to do a break towards the end where I've got it. So in order to do that, I need to do a couple of things. First, I'm going to need to split it. So I'm going to do maybe at 4 bars. I'm going to split it. There we go. And now, let's see what that sounds like. My dad always loved the idea of the Mississippi River. He had a... Well, that didn't work at all, did it? That just stopped just like that. I don't like that. That sounds funny. I would much rather that it just fades out, fades away. And so we can do that. What we're going to do is we're going to, first I'm going to make sure that my music is put in over here. All right, so what I want to do is I want to make it fade away. And this is sort of the advanced level GarageBand, but when you can do it, if you can pull it off, it's very cool, and it makes the whole podcast sound much, much better. All right, so I'm going to then tap on this one again, and this time I'm going to choose automation. Automation lets me cover, it lets me change the volumes individually of each track. So what you're going to see over here is these little dots, this line with these dots. And what I'm going to be able to do is make the sound go up and down where I want it to. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to need to unlock this track. So I'm going to need to come up here to this button right up here, and I'm going to slide it over, and now I can mess with it. And what does messing with it look like? Well, if I tap on here, you notice that I got this dot. And I can actually make a number of dots if I want. But those dots are kind of cool because I can grab any one of those dots and drag it up or drag it down. And what does that do? Well, that changes the volume of the song. And you can even drag it over if you want as well. So in fact, I'm going to do that. I'm going to drag it like this because I want it to fade out. And I'm going to match up this dot with the end of my music so that it fades out and stops right there. All right, and now let's listen to what that sounds like. My dad always loved the idea of the Mississippi River. He had a... Okay, that's much cooler. It starts to fade out, and it's just as it's fading out, in comes my voice. And they kind of overlap just for a second, but this doesn't stop right away. It fades slowly out. And then we can do the same thing on the other end down here. Now, over here, my dad says I had to have it. And this would be a perfect place, if my podcast kept going, for a little break of music. Just the music to kind of come in for a minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a dot, and then put in another one, and I'm going to fade it in. And I want it to be at kind of its max volume right when he's done talking. And maybe I kind of want it to fade in as he's talking. So, well, let's test it. Let's see what that sounds like. Looking in and out of it, and he decided
I had to have it.
All right, that's pretty cool. I like that. All right, so I'm done now. I'm gonna lock this back up so I can't mess with it. Slide it over. Now it's locked. Now it's set the way it is. Now I'm done. I'm gonna hit done, and I go back to my thing. As I do this, I kind of think where the music is doesn't quite work. And out of it, and he decided
I had to have it.
I don't like that kind of thing is in the middle of it. So I can actually. So the interesting part about the automation is that this, excuse me, this volume control is locked to this spot. It's not locked to the music, it's locked to this spot. So I can take the music and I can slide it over, but notice that the automation doesn't change in any way. So I can find a spot where I like the way it sounds. And he decided
I had to have it.
That's kind of cool. But maybe I want more like this. I did.
I had to have it.
That's much cooler. And then I can fade it back out again and start up on the narration. And that's really it. That is the music in a nutshell. That is how you add music in and change the volumes and make it sound good. The thing that you really want to consider is the volume level. Make sure that it's not overpowering the sound of your voice, especially if you're doing it as background music through the whole thing. And that can sound good. You don't have to have spots where it's not. You can just play the music all the way through. But then it has to be music that is not overpowering to your to the narration. It has to be quiet background music in that case. But that's music. This is the last step. This is the piece that brings everything together and makes your podcast complete. Good luck.